Holla holla, Clawdeen and I'm here. Did you know there are currently over 100 Monster High characters? Today we're listing off 25 Monster High characters we need to see in the comeback later this year. From characters we only met once, like LED, to fan favorites like Nephra Denial, we're counting down every ghoul and manster that needs to get a second chance. Comment down below which characters you'd love to see in the comeback. Before we get started, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, turn on notifications, and subscribe so you never miss the tea on the toys you love. Now, let's dive in. Number 25, Kiomi Haunterly, daughter of the Nopera Beau, aka the Faceless Ghost. Kiomi is the 16-year-old fashionista we met in the movie Haunted. As we learned in the movie, Kiomi and Spectra go way back, as the two ghouls used to be beast friends. Now Kiomi has taken interest in Draculaura, and credits her as the reason she's able to express herself in a way she hadn't before. Having Kiomi in the comeback offers the opportunity to elaborate on her history with Spectra and what we can presume to be a crush on Draculaura. As hinted by Garrett Sander, it's likely Kiomi is some way a part of the LGBTQ+ community, so having her in this reboot allows for more queer representation. Number 24, Bonita Feist. As daughter of the Skeleton and Moth, Bonita is visually one of the coolest Monster High dolls ever. She bears giant ornate wings that allow her to stand on her own without a doll stand. We met Bonita in the movie Freaky Fusion, and as per her diary and the movie, we know Bonita is a character with a lot of anxiety. She also uses meditation as a way to ground herself, and I think having a character who struggles with such a relatable obstacle, who also exemplifies healthy ways of coping, could be an opportunity for Monster High to expand on their message of inclusivity by discussing mental health and normalizing finding ways we cope as individuals. Number 23, LED. She's the robot Boo Yorker that wants to put you in the groove. Elle was only ever introduced in Boo York. Unlike many of Monster High's characters, Elle actually doesn't attend Monster High, and because of this, we've only ever gotten 2 dolls of her. The Gala Elle and the one sold in a Walmart exclusive 3-pack with Mercedes King and Luna Matthews. I found Elle's design to be stunning. Her head sculpt is unlike anything I've ever seen. I'd love to see how Elle would interact with Robecca Steam, seeing as they're both robots, yet from entirely different eras. Do you think Robecca and Elle would get along or bump heads being so technologically different? Number 22. Speaking of Robecca, we need Robecca Steam in the comeback. Not only is Robecca an incredibly popular character, there's also so much to Robecca we have yet to learn. We know that she plays some major roles in Monster High's story, from being a scream track icon to even having the vampire's heart, an ancient artifact to vamp culture. Her father, Hezekiah, being one of Monster High's first teachers, means Robecca is somewhat of an OG heart to the Monster High school. Not to mention her doll, meticulously complex in ways that future generations have to see. The gears on the back of her legs literally spun, and the ways her body had gears and pieces throughout made her an incomparable design. Number 21. Claire. Some of you may be unfamiliar with Claire, as she was never made into a doll. Claire was a movie-only character featured in Ghouls Rule. Claire is the quintessential goth. She has a blue streak in her hair, long black sweater with skull graphic and striped leggings. Despite never getting a doll, Claire was a popular character when she debuted in the movie. Alas, we never got to see Claire again following the events of Ghouls Rule. But she's a character that would fit right in at Monster High, and I think many Monster High fans could appreciate her overall design. Number 20. Howleen Wolf. We know her as the little sister to Clawdeen Wolf, Claude Wolf, and Claudia Wolf. Howleen got quite a few releases, from Dance Class to Ghoul Fair, and even played a starring role in Monster High 13 Wishes. While Howleen may just seem like another body at Monster High, I think her character makes for a fun dynamic with Clawdeen, and there's so much to be developed about her. Number 19. Torlai Stripe. She was Monster High's first ever werecat and first ever real antagonist. While Cleo may have been a bit bossy, Torlai had it in for our ghoul since day one. Mischievous, conniving, and clever, Torlai made for both interesting webisodes and funny movie moments. I think Torlai being a fully orange doll was interesting, and I really liked most of her dolls. It'd be nice to get more Torlai dolls, and dually nice to see her cause chaos for the ghouls again. Number 18. Andy Beast. Referred to as the Jungle Hottie, Finally, Andy Beast is another character that was never made into a doll. Introduced in the movie Skull Shores, Andy was one of Frankie's many love interests. His character was similar to that of the Hulk, though it seems Andy had the ability to control his inner beast, and I'd love to get more Monster High Mansters. Adding Andy to my collection would just feel right. Number 17. Heath Burns. You know him as the flirty comical relief of the Monster High franchise. He's son of the Fire Elementals and was first introduced in the webisode Substitute Creature back in 2010. Fun fact, despite not getting an official doll until 2013, Heath was a reoccurring character in the Monster High series before Holt Hyde and Jackson Jekyll, who received their first dolls during Monster High's initial launch in 2010. Heath is also the cousin to Jackson and Holt, a family relationship we didn't get to learn much of. For the comeback, I'd love to learn more about Heath's family dynamic with the Jekyll Hydes and some more character development for the clumsy braggart. Number 16. Marisol Chichi, daughter of the South American Bigfoot and cousin to Abby Abominable. Marisol wasn't introduced until 2014 in the line Monster Exchange and only received one doll in the Monster High franchise. I think Bigfoot is a classic monster folklore that could be further explored through Marisol, and being she's from Buru, Marisol can provide representation for a scaretage that isn't often represented by the doll industry. It'd be cool to get a family 2-pack of her and Abby. Number 15. Astronoma. Introduced in the movie Boo York, a monsterific musical, Astronoma is the 15-year-old comet alien introduced in 2015. Fascinating about Astronoma is her affiliation with Ever After High. At the end of the movie, we see her talking on the phone with Applewhite and Raven Queen, informing them that Monster High is indeed real. We didn't get to see much of Astronoma following this, but based on her diary and bio, we know that Astronoma struggles with understanding Earth language and mannerisms. It'd be interesting to see dolls of her that didn't include the bulky magnet helmet she included. There's so many intergalactic fashion designs that could be used for her. I'm also curious to find out how she specifically knows of Ever After, though theories suggest she may be the wishing star in Pinocchio. You can learn more about this theory in my previous video, which I've linked down below for later. Number 14. Lorna McNessie, daughter of the famous Loch Ness Monster. Lorna McNessie only received a tad more airtime than some other background Monster High students, but despite being in the Monster High theme song for the last webisodes, Lorna only ever received one doll in the Monster High lineup, and little character development was made for her. As a huge fan of creating looks based off of the color wheel, Lorna's clashing aqua skin against red hair is an immediate yes for me. I hope we see Lorna in the comeback because there's so much that can be done with the Loch Ness story. Maybe a Ghouls Go to Rotland movie, where we get to learn a little bit more about Lorna and her Celtic heritage. Fun fact, the symbols on Lorna's body are Celtic. Number 13. Amanita Nightshade. Deadly, poisonous, and drop-dead gorgeous. And we're not just talking about the elusive corpse flower. Amanita Nightshade, who debuted in the Gloom and Bloom collection, made for quite the character when she was released in 2014. Amanita played an important role in Cleo's character development, seeing as Amanita, who was once Nephra's plant, abandoned the Denial family to rot after Cleo and her family were ambushed out of their own kingdom and turned into mummies. Amanita ended up getting a second doll with Nephra Denial in the Scream and Sugar collection for the 2016 reboot. Seeing as she came with Nephra, it could be said that Nephra doesn't hold a grudge against Amanita for ditching her and her family, but I'd love to learn more about their dynamic and see Amanita stir up some trouble for Cleo. Number 12. Jackson Jekyll and Holt Hyde. One of sci-fi fans' most infamous characters, Jekyll and Hyde have a teenage son totaled with eyebrow piercings and a yin and yang tattoo. Introduced in 2010, Holt and Jackson were the first intended to be main characters in the Monster High universe. Garrett Sander revealed in the original plan for the live-action Monster High movie, Jackson and Holt being the same person was a secret, and the characters, let's just say Jackson and Holt played an important role in the movie. Unfortunately, the movie was scrapped and Jackson and Holt didn't make their webisode debut until long after the animated series had already been going on for quite some time. We only ever got 2 Holt Hyde dolls, but I'd love to see more of his character in a less obnoxious way than we got in the movies. And I'd love to see more of Jackson and Holt's family dynamic with Heath. Were you a fan of Holt and Jackson, or could you do without them? Fun fact, Jackson and Holt are voiced by the same actress who plays Operetta and Gory Fangtail. She She also plays Bloom in the animated Winx Club 3D adventure. Number 11. Headless Headmistress Bloodgood. You may not acknowledge her very much, but Bloodgood is the headless queen that keeps Monster High running in order. Powerful, fun, and wise, Bloodgood was strongly missed after the 2016 reboot when Mattel decided to make Dracula the principal of Monster High instead. We didn't get much intel on Bloodgood, but I'd love for her to be a part of the reboot and maybe we'd get to learn more about her backstory. What was the high school she attended like, and how did her story lead to her becoming the headmistress of Monster High? What I loved most about Bloodgood is her constant dedication to ensuring Monster High was fully inclusive. Bloodgood was a progressive monster that just wanted to create an environment where normies and monsters could congregate and make peace. This type of thinking is what gives me hope for the real world, and I think we need her back. Number 10. Venus McFlytrap. She was my absolute favorite ghoul when she initially released in 2012. Daughter of the plant monster, Venus is the eco-friendly teen that's got pollen persuasion for cleaning the nation. Venus got a wide array of dolls, but she's another character I think received backburner treatment. I love that Venus is all about recycling, but recycling is actually such a small part of environmental friendliness. I'd love to see Monster High use Venus's character as a way to elaborate on ways we can take care of planet Earth. Maybe discuss important issues like global warming, and maybe give Venus more of a backstory. Perhaps one of Venus's family members wilted as a byproduct of monsters not taking care of the planet. Maybe we learn more about other aspects of Venus outside of recycling. I think it's amazing to have passions we love, but imagine if my entire life revolved around Monster High. Okay, well, Monster High and dolls make up a big part of my life, but there's so much more to me. I'd love to see that reflected in Venus and many of the other Monster High students who have only been given one-dimensional characteristics. Number 9. Honey Swamp. The bayou beauty that makes cinematic gold. Honey, being from New Orleans, offers potential for her in operetta to make movie magic in Louisiana. I'd love to see a Monster High movie with operetta and Honey at the forefront, or at least a 2-pack. Honey was also one of the few Monster High characters to have afro-textured hair. So adding more Honey to the Monster High lineup would be extra sweet. Number 7. Valentine. Alright, I know many of you already know why I'm saying this, but this is Monster High's chance at redemption. Valentine was supposed to come out as gay in his SDCC diary. Now's a second chance for Monster High to create Speldon Caldronello and pair him as his OTP counterpart for Valentine. That's all I have to say on that. Number 6. Scalita Calaveras. Quite possibly one of the coolest dolls to ever exist, Scalita's doll is inspired by Katrina's. She's made up entirely of bones. Scalita gives Monster High the opportunity to expand on their representation of Mexican culture, and while Scalita received several dolls since her debut in Scary City of Frights, I wouldn't mind adding another Scalita or 10 to my collection. We also know Scalita has a brother. It'd be cool to get Scalita's brother as a doll so we can get a variety of dolls in different body types, ages, and backgrounds. Number 5. Nephra Denial. Devious, mischievous, narcissistic, nefarious. Nephra Denial gave fans an aha moment about her little sister Cleo Denial. Nephra treats Cleo like any unhealthy older sister little sister dynamic, plotting against her during fear leading, blackmailing her and turning both her and her friends into personal slaves, manipulating her induced to break up and boo York, and coercing her into marrying someone that would make her incredibly unhappy for her own wealth. You know, the usual. Nephra holds many deep dark secrets that we need to learn. For example, the scar on her arm. Garrett Sander revealed it happened during part of the mummifying process. Her arm wasn't preserved properly. How does this affect Nephra and her modeling career? It'd also be fun to get new Nephra dolls. The 3 that were made of her are stunning, and she has to be one of my favorite Monster High characters ever. Number 4. Jinafire Long. She's the fire-breathing fashion designer with major skills. What some of you may not know is that Jinafire has 7 older brothers, is from Shanghai, China, and was originally going to have ornate fins on her legs and arms like Laguna Blue. Jinafire has always meant a lot to me because growing up there wasn't much Chinese representation in dolls aside from Jade from Bratz and maybe Raquel from Barbie, but I really identified with Jinafire and hope we get to see her in the comeback. Number 3. Giga Grant. Newly freed genie with a love for astrology, we first met Giga Grant in 13 Wishes, serving as the genie to Howleen Wolf. We know that Giga is sweet, friendly, and somewhat reserved. After 13 Wishes, we didn't see much of Gigi's, despite the fact that she had several dolls following her release. New Scaremester, Freaky Field Trip, and even a budget doll. all. Gigi is a super cute character that deserves more airtime. Plus, like many of Monster High's characters, we don't know much of her backstory like her relationship with her sister Wisp, which brings us to number 2. Wisp Grant, the shadow sister to Gigi Grant, created by a wish from a finder long ago after Giles Grimm whispered into their ear to give Gigi a friend. Wisp has an affiliation with the lunar eclipse and loves to read, both figuratively and literally. Known for her sassy attitude and devilish demeanor, Wisp has changed her ways and is on the path to redemption. Following 13 Wishes, Wisp kept her shadowy appearance on the outside, but is developing a heart of gold on the inside. Even more than Gigi, we don't know much of Wisp's past, aside from the fact she grew jealous of Gigi, and in that time, she did lots of reading on her abilities and restrictions. I'd love to know more about Wisp's relationship with Gigi's father. It's said in her diary she doesn't like to talk about it. It'd also be fun to see her and Valentine spending time together as friends. What are your thoughts? Would it make sense to have Wisp come back to Monster High's universe? Number 1. Catty Noir. She's the most famous monster pop star of all time who gave up her career as a celebrity to become a Monster High student. Catty was a beautiful character with some of the most gorgeous dolls in Monster High history. From celebrities in London to fierce rockers to Boo York, Catty's dolls are never short of style and flair. Having Catty back at Monster High gives us opportunity to have more music videos, and a pop star themed line. I'd love to see a red carpet inspired line featuring Catty, Casta, Elizabeth, among others. If Catty doesn't come back, the claws are coming out. Do you agree with these 25 characters coming back? Who did I miss? Let me know below, and as always, be sure to click thumbs up, turn on notifications, and hit subscribe. Thanks for watching. See ya!